Hi there, YouTube. Let's bring our friends in from Twitch. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stratosphere Studio. I'm your host, Bill Little. It is the 8th of July. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm feeling a little moldy. Um, actually just got off of a 3-hour meeting. We were just working on the script, final script for the PragerU segment on Lyndon Johnson. So we hammered that into something I think is really good, and looking forward to shooting that on Friday. That'll be nice. For all the hair fans out there. And otherwise, just kind of slugging along. Lying Bastard Johnson is right. Yeah, I did my very best to be fair with him. I thought I owed it to him. I owed it to history anyway. It's still not a very flattering outcome. But yeah, it's good scripts, 850 words, 900, something like that. So we should shoot that on Friday. So that'll be cool. I'm excited about that. Finally got a chance to go over to PragerU headquarters in the PragerU skyscraper in downtown Los Angeles. Sighting visit down there. So that was fun. And then let's see. Some other progress here for a change. That's nice. Oh, I said I was in a moldy mood. So I don't know how much of this is a repeat, but I was at home. I guess about a week ago today. I think 1st of July, somewhere around there. And got a knock on my door from my neighbor, who I've never spoken to before because he's never home. He's a Chinese gentleman and his Chinese wife. And they knocked on the door and said, "Hi, are you the owner?" And I said, "No, I just rent it." And I said, "Can we get the owner's information?" I gave it to him. He said, "We have a mold problem in our house. The other guy does, not us." I said, "Okay." He said, "Okay." And then he took off. And then we didn't see him. He wasn't there at the 4th of July parade, but that wasn't surprising. However, when we did the 4th of July parade, I walked over, as we're walking by, we could see a number of workmen inside the house up against the window pane, just kind of waving. And they've been working on that house for the last week, nonstop. I went over there today on a pretext. I was pretexting my son, "Hey, how's it going? Just curious to know how much longer this job's going to be going on. You guys are great. You're not making a lot of noise or anything." So that mostly I just wanted to get close enough to the window to see just exactly how extreme this is. And looking in the window, there's no furniture in the house. The wall panels are down. I could see straight through the house to the back where they have a swimming pool. I saw like a sink or a toilet that had been removed from the fixtures. So they are disassembling that house. And all this is going on with open windows on their part to ventilate the house, which is fine. And I certainly don't want those extremely nice people who are working there today to be unventilated. But it did occur to me, if they're smashing the wall open with hammers in order to get rid of the mold, that stuff's going into our air conditioning inlet, which is about 6 feet away from their house. So that's got me a little concerned. We're going to be doing a test on, I think on Thursday morning. The landlord, our landlord's actually going to be doing it. But I don't know. I just don't know how much of this is real. I don't know whether it's all psychological and the mold is essentially nothing, or whether the mold is everything and all the rest of it. Cheese. Cheese. All these are the courtesy of Dr. David Derschlag of Valencia, California, who did the whole teeth in one afternoon. We did get a UV light based on some recommendations here. So, yeah, Marisha, I kind of agree. I don't know. I don't know about any kind of action or anything. I prided myself on never having sued anybody or ever been sued. I'd like to maintain that record. However, if it turns out that that my wife and I have been just essentially incapacitated for the last 8 months by this thing, and more importantly, um, my main concern is that if we were getting this mold before, and if they came over to warn us that their house has mold, it strikes me that you wouldn't want to open the windows as you bash out the pieces of the house that have got the mold in it. That seems to me like that would be pretty much an ideal way to spread those spores as widely as possible. So, so we will see. Now, look. I'm not talking about. I really don't want to get into the details of this, but it is on record. I mean, I mentioned it in Stratosphere Lounge. I've mentioned it many times about being, tired and. So I mentioned testing for mold before the guy came over and said, "Hey, we got mold in the other guy's house." So we've got um, we've got evidence of us being concerned about this prior to being informed about it. So it's not a, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? I've completely molded it out of existence. It's not a lawsuit of opportunity kind of thing. So we'll see. Did I break the mold? I did not. The mold has broken me, Eric. It's broken me. No, I'm okay. Psychosomatic, psychotic, psychopathic. Now, if it was psychedelic mold, that'd be actually kind of awesome. Yeah, sunlight should kill the mold, but the problem is if it's in their house and they're bashing it and it gets right up in the air, it gets immediately drawn into our huge, round, enormous, California level 106-degree summer day air conditioning unit. Then it goes right in to our house where it's on the inside, and so we will see. Need to change a sheetrock. That's why I should be. I need to be in the sheetrock hanging business. I always thought that was a cool sounding profession. What do you do for a living? I hang sheetrock. Sounds like a manly thing to do. So that's is going on as it's going on. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to make Oshkosh or not. It looks like I'm going to. How far is my window to the AC? It's about 7 feet from their window to our AC intake, which is on their side of the house. If our air conditioning intake was on the other side, that'd be one thing. So, lots of sheetrock people standing up now for the get a lot of love for sheetrock, which is a cool name for this stuff. Hey, speaking of walls and things, I'm looking over here to my right, and what do I see? I see the wall finally painted. I see the screen up. I see everything over there looking copacetic and ready to go. At last, some progress there. So now to get the graphics, just something to roll on there, then I can throw on pictures of anybody I want to up there, and I'll see if I get started with Micro, who's got a movie out, and I am going to try and make that the topic of my right angle show for tomorrow. I've got to watch the movie first, but in any event, that's that. So I'm just really, really looking forward to getting into. I was kind of writing I know what the first. I also ordered a. It was relatively inexpensive, and because it's so much. Because it saves me so much time and effort, I expect I'll be using it. I saw an ad for a green screen. It's about, I don't know, 5, 6 feet wide and maybe 7, 8 feet tall. But the beautiful thing about this thing is big enough for you to stand in front of and turn in front of. But the great thing about it is internally lit, which means that you don't have to worry about shadows on the green screen, which means you can light the person in a way that I could never light myself with the firewalls and the afterburners and stuff. So I'm thinking about taking the back storage room and turning that into a green screen thing. I'm actually thinking about making these things to come thing very cinematic. I got sold on a series of effects packs. Now these are really pretty cool effects because they're all pre-rendered. They're just drag and drop effects, and they've got thousands and thousands of them. They've got meteorite impacts, and they've got all this other stuff. They've got collapsing buildings, and it's honestly completely just alpha keyed in, and you just have your frame, and you just drop these things in, and you put yourself in there, and I thought that might be kind of a cool way to start the things to come videos, and to make the things to come videos look not only more permanent and a little weightier, but also, just a little more eye-catching, is to kind of chroma key myself into this sort of wasteland. It just seemed like a neat idea. Be a lot more cinematic, and I got sold on this idea by these guys. It's like $69. Here's 450 apocalyptic effects: building collapsing, cars smashing into walls, flipping and doing all this other stuff, and you just stack them. A car goes into a wall, and then you put the explosion behind the car, and then that explodes, and then the building collapses, and fun. It's just like Lego set, really. So I think something like that might be pretty cool for me to be just dressed in like a black suit with a white open collar, the same look as in Empire of Terror, and just kind of be walking through the wreckage like all right. Here's some of the stuff that's going to be happening. But happy days, because I'm gonna start the series. I'm gonna end the first episode of the series with Glacier Girl, because this has got to be about hope. Got to be about hope. If it's just about gloom and doom, then might as well be for Democrats. And I don't see any reason to do that. So that'll be fun. I also have been. Fiery Texas says I should chroma key himself into a Texas or Tennessee setting just so he can see how great it would be. My sister sent me something. It's a in joke for those of us who've lived in places like Texas or Tennessee or Florida. She sent me it was I don't know if it was intentional meme or what, but it was just a Facebook messenger exchange between two people, and not related to me or anything. And the first person says, "Hey Jim, I was thinking about coming down and spending August in South Florida. Can you give me some idea what that'd be like?" And Jim says, "Have you ever been cremated?" And I thought, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, yeah, my take on the French election results. Well, if you can bring that question back on Thursday on our Stress Free Launch show. But basically, this is how the left works. Democracy is sacred and must not, under any circumstances, ever be touched by any encroachment whatsoever, unless the vote doesn't go the way we want to. In which case, then we will do whatever the hell we want to, and damn the consequences. So, the European Union is a consortium of nations that are voluntarily pulling all together for the common good, and isn't this wonderful? And it's the pinnacle of achievement for liberals until Britain wants to leave. And when the voters make the wrong decisions, then you simply ignore them, and then you make them do it again another 2 or 3 years later, and then you do everything you can to stall that. And when a non-left-wing party gets elected in France, then the answer, of course, is to burn the place down, because, as you know, right-wingers are Nazis. America, when conservatives are elected, we've got to burn the city down to stop those Nazis from coming to power. See how that works? We're going to smash all the windows. We're going to create a crystal knock. We're going to burn down the city. We're going to crash the windows. All of this to prevent the Nazis from taking power. This is what they believe. And it would be ironically ridiculous even if it were true, but it's simply projection on their part. You know, it's just projection. Oh my God, if Donald Trump is elected, he's going to send all of us to camps. No, we have no interest in sending you to camps. I've never spoken to a single person who wants to send anybody to a camp. I don't know anybody who wants to cancel The View. I don't know anybody who wants any kind of retribution against anybody other than the enforcement of the law. This is in your sick minds, not our sick minds, because we don't have sick minds. It's in your sick mind, and it says a lot more about you than it does about us. But yes, so if somebody other than when liberals win in France, it's a triumph of democracy. When conservatives win in France, the entire system must be destroyed because the voters have come to the wrong conclusion, and we will continue to burn the city down and bash heads and twist arms until the electorate comes up with the correct vote, and then things will be just fine after that. So, gosh. Roadrunner says if The View gets canceled, Greg Gutfeld will lose 75% of his jokes. Yes, but America will gain 75% of its peace of mind back, and that is a small price to pay, I say. You know, the opportunities, and so, you know, I always talk about not mixing the streams and trying to keep the Monday show an entertainment show and the Thursday show a political show, but there's no way to really completely do that. But with that said, the Democrats now, it looks like it changes by the hour, but it looks like they will force Biden out after one bad debate. And so then the question you have to ask is, well, if it wasn't just one bad debate, and if it turns out that the Democratic news media is now saying we got to get rid of Biden because nobody else can beat Trump, then somebody needs to start asking, well, since this kind of thing doesn't happen overnight, and since it's the job of the press to report the news, either you are criminally negligent for having not done your job, which we all know is not the case. We all know that you knew. You're just on fire now because now we know. Or actually, we always knew too. Now your voters know. So the Democratic Party is the party that is governing America by somebody unknown. It's not a question of it's a Republican or Democrat. We don't know who's running the country. We don't have any idea. I got to guess. But no, I don't think Europe is lost. I don't think Britain is lost. I think that we're turning the corner, man. I really do. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about this stuff. I am. I'm watching these people just get more and more desperate and more pathetic. You know, I give you my word as a Biden that I genuinely believe we're going to come out of this, you know, pretty well. Tim Pool outlined a distant plan for how the Dems could replace Biden with Michelle Newsom. Well, that may be possible, but I don't think Michelle wants the job. I don't think Michelle is stupid. I don't think Barack's stupid either. I don't see any reason why Michelle didn't even like being first lady, let alone president. I cannot understand this conversation about Michelle Obama as a political candidate. She's not shown the slightest interest in it, ever. In fact, many signals, if I recall correctly, about how much she kind of wanted to get the hell out of there. So I just don't see it. The same thing goes for Oprah and all the rest of it. Now, Gavin Newsom, of course, saying, no, Joe Biden's going to be our man. Joe Biden is the most fit president we've ever had. He's playing his part to a T. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. He's going to be Biden's biggest supporter. So when the call comes, it's only going to be through a tear-streaked evening of deep reflection and prayer, where he has to get down on his knees and beg God to give him the wisdom to choose as to whether or not to step in to be the Democratic nominee for president, despite of his deepest affection for old Joe and his highest confidence in his abilities. I know how this works. I know how to write these parts. I know how it goes. And none of these parts are interesting enough or original enough to be, you know, interesting or surprising. They're all just, you know, everybody's talking about the Democratic nominee versus Trump, but I'm beginning to think the Trump phenomenon now is unstoppable, and I don't think anybody could beat him. And Gavin Newsom is my greatest worry. He'd be the person I would like least to run against. But California is hated in this country. Hated. They're not. This is not the California of, well, gosh, it's not even the California of Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not even the California of Jerry Brown. It's just a joke. And given the job loss and everything, I think it's the economy, stupid, right? I mean, Gavin Newsom, this is a land of $6.50 a gallon gas. So, what do you say? Yeah, Barry would be running the show. Michelle would be a figurehead. Says 1968 Camaro SS, which is a very, 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 very cool name to have, I might say. She doesn't want the job. Nobody wants the job. And I mean, Michelle doesn't want the job. Brock doesn't. I don't see any reason why they would take a risk on losing. You know what I mean? Why would she do it? Why would she do it and risk the loss? The only person who I could see I'm not saying they're going to. I'm saying the only person who would step in with nothing to lose would be somebody like Hillary Clinton or John Kerry or somebody like that. Nothing to lose. Because anyway, I think that the likelihood now is that it's going to look. If they manage to convince us that Joe Biden was conscious, let alone competent, for 3 years, I think now they're doing the calculations. Can we do a Biden treatment on Harris? Can we keep her locked into a teleprompter? Can we buff her up as much as possible, scare the living daylights about Donald Trump, and make? I don't see how they bypass Harris. Tim Pool may have a clever solution, but unfortunately, for clever solutions, most people aren't clever enough to really appreciate the clever solution. So I'm not worried about it legally. They do whatever they damn well want to. It's never been a problem for them. But where it goes from there, I don't know. Pool speculating that Biden might have Parkinson's. Yes, Biden had an aneurysm. I'm convinced he had a stroke in the time that he was during the Trump presidency. Did Bill show what's on his T-shirt yet? No, he did not. Hey, perfect occasion. This is my buddy here. I love this shirt. Ready? Here we go. Isn't that awesome? And there he is, right behind me. About to hit the gym. So anyway, I don't know. It's getting very boring to me. It's boring. The whole politics is just boring, and I find the whole thing waffle armor. That's clever. So boring politics. It is boring. Hang on 1 second. Brighten things up a little bit in here. It's a little bit digitally gloomy. I can fix this. Look, the sun's coming out. And now the contrast is coming out. Hooray. So why don't we just jump into questions? How would that be? Hey, Bill, where do healthy Star Trek fans work out? I don't know, at the gym? I don't know. Oh, I had something to say about Star Trek. Oh, yeah. We run, for those of you who are watching this recorded, we throw out, pieces of scraps, culture scraps to the baying hounds of the Twitch stream who sit here, gnawing on each other. Mostly I just throw stuff out so they don't kill each other in the comment section. But we run a bunch of TV show openings, and for Stratosphere Lounge, the opening cue is Petuna Clark, I Know a Place, and for Stratosphere Studio, it's the opening to Star Trek. I don't have to say any which Star Trek, because there's really only one Star Trek. But I was thinking about this, when I remember the first time I ever saw Star Trek in syndication. I was probably about 11 or 12 or something. And I remember the thing that I was most impressed with, by far, was the Starfield effect. No one had ever seen that before. And it was so crystal clear to me. I mean, it just went straight to your bones, you know, like, pew, boo, boo. We're moving through space. We're moving through space. Here they come, and the faster they come, the faster we're moving. And I thought, man, that's just so amazing. This is the greatest thing ever, and it is. It's the iconic thing about Star Trek is looking at that view screen and seeing the, you know, and the sensors and the little, you know, sensor pulses that are going out. And then somewhere around, and I'd love to blame this on J.J. Abrams, but it wasn't. It was the Star Trek the Motion Picture where it just goes, and next thing you know, I mean, they had a Starfield. J.J. Abrams put the Enterprise into a wormhole. Now the Enterprise goes, and when it stops, it goes like that. I'm just so over it. It's just so stupid. You know, it's just dumb. When the Enterprise arrives in orbit now, it's just like, it's not there, and then there it is. Why? On the TV show, the Enterprise entered orbit, you know. You could just tell it was slowing down on the way in, and then it would enter orbit, and then it assumed a standard orbit, and you just go round and round. When it came time to leave the planet, they put a little bit of juice in there, a little throttle, give her a little throttle, and you'd leave the planet behind you and go. No, it was understandable and clean and simple and made sense to you, and then it's gone. Now when Next Generation started doing this, is like, here come all of Starfleet Command, from infinitely fast to 0, 20 feet apart. Why? You know? Even Babylon 5 had the decency to go through the wormhole. You know, they were just wormhole would open, pow, 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 and they just sail through it. But this one cheap effect, this kind of, you know, sonic boom, this optic boom, you know. Okay, Boomer, that's right. Well, the boomer is talking about what the boomer knows about, and these are indisputable facts. This is not something that's up for discussion. This is not something that can be objectively denied with your Star Trek Discovery and your Picard and your Brave New Worlds and your Counselor. Got an Enterprise with a seat for the captain, the first officer, and the human resources director. Telling me about Star Trek and Boomer this or Boomer you, or the next Boomer Dimension. Get off of my yard, by the way. So anyway, yeah, this is our HR director. Complaints can be sent to her, and they'll come up the chain of command directly to me. So there you go. All right, so let's see what we got here. We'll go to questions. Might be a quickish night, but it's been a longish day. I always say that. It's always been a long day. One of these days I'm going to come here and I'm going to go, you know what? I have just absolutely fully rested and I've got nothing to do. Well, I have done that, though, haven't we? We did a 4-hour. Did we do a 5? We did once, didn't we? We did something that was pretty close to 5. We did 4+, I know. Let's see what we got. Let's see. What you got, kid? Let's see what you got, kid. Oh, on BillWhittle.com, the new logo is Bill Whittle in this great font called Black Sword, I think it is. It's a script font. But I decided to drop $70 and have the calligraphers do a custom one-off unique signature. So I might be seeing that in the next couple days. And if that's any good, I'll change it out. If it's not, then I won't, because I like this a lot. Here we go. No, I thought it was my handwriting. I wish it was. It was my handwriting used to be quite remarkable back in the day. Oh. Beetlejuice 2. I don't think no, I'm not going to go see it. Oh, I saw Dune 2, by the way, finally. Um, you know, it's good. It's probably the best sci-fi in years. It was, it was good. You know, that's all you get out of me. Uh, no, I was not humming the Next Generation theme because my boomer brain will explode. And it'll go boom. All right, here, let's see what we got here. Members. That's right. That's all coming back to me now. Member forum. Yes, yes. This is all very fair. Okay. Stress your studio questions for 7/8/24. Curated by Marusha Dark. Thank you, Marusha. Meh. Yeah, it was meh. It wasn't. It was better than meh. It wasn't meh for me. Marusha says, I think Zendaya is one of the most overrated actresses going. She was very severe. The whole movie, very severe. That's what I want in a love interest in a heroine or the female character that I'm supposed to be. I want severity and toughness and the ability to knock guys out, but she didn't overdo that. I'll give her credit for that. But mostly, I just want severity and anger and terrible rage and injustice. Yeah, Ripley didn't have that, and neither did any of the other great female heroines. Filled with rage. I'm cramping up a little bit. All right, here we go. We got a Godzilla from Marusha Dark. We got a Jacob Belchik. 2 from Jacob Belchik. We got an Eric Blake. We only got 4 questions. Oh my gosh. How about that? We'll see what happens. She's like that in every movie, though. Nihilist obsessed with bigotry. There must be some injustice out there. We must find some injustice. That's what the new Star Trek should be about. It should be an interstellar search for injustice. The supplies of injustice on Earth are running dangerously low. Earth is no longer habitable for progressives. There's not enough injustice on Earth anymore to sustain the population. We must push out into new arenas and find new sources of injustice, just so we can survive as a species, as a people. I saw a 1-year documentary. It's been about a year, it's been over a year now, since the Titan Ocean Gate disaster, and Stockton Rush was talking about, we're going to have cities under the water. Yeah, we've managed to screw up this planet, but the cities will be our refuge. Yep, it sure is pretty screwed up, all right. I was just driving into work today, looking at all of the mountains of garbage and the black skies filled with toxic fumes from the smokestacks belching their mercury and other heavy metal poisons into the atmosphere. Drove along the beach the other day looking at all the whale carcasses and all the dead porpoises and dolphins from the oil slicks that extend to the horizon, visible only through the cracks in the giant ocean of plastic that's choked off the planet, and the UV radiation has just killed all the crops. There's not a living green thing anywhere to be found, and no matter where you look, we've really killed off the planet. All right, this is the most tired trope in science fiction. It's so weak. It's so weak, so weak. I just had a realization. I showed several weeks ago on the show. I showed some of these environments for these arcologies. You remember we talked about that? These self-contained cities, and they were all in the desert in blinding white light. And I thought, man, the problem with that is it looks very hot, and I don't kind of want to do a hot future, mostly because I don't want to give them the satisfaction. I realized just because it's blinding white doesn't necessarily mean it's hot. It could be cold. It could be a bright cold. It's kind of interesting. You know, a bright cold. Diane Freeman says she saw Nick Searcy's January 6th movie last night. It made me weep. It should make you weep. It should make you angry too. Mostly, it should make you vote. Yeah. I did not know Uhura was in the Micro movie. I need to watch that movie tonight, and because I'm going to be talking about it tomorrow. So there we go. All right, so Marisha Duck, Tarkpick, Godzilla. Bill, I know I've been pushing back on you a lot recently. That's okay. That's what we're here for. Happy to do it. Hope you understand I do it out of love and that it'd be less interesting if I always just agreed with you on stuff. That's your opinion. My opinion is it would be much more interesting if you completely agreed with me on stuff. I find that to be the most agreeable and entertaining type of program, and is in fact my lifelong goal, is to live in a world where everybody agrees with me 100% on everything. And I've got a lot of work to do, lots of work. But anyway, thanks for the thought. Iron sharpens iron, as our friend Zoe says. Personally, I'd love the chance for you to sit down and I talk for 3 hours a clip and just totally explore certain topics in depth and really get into stuff. For now, at least consider this softball week. Okay, thank you. On to my question. Here it comes. It's an underhanded pitch. It's going to be big, fat, slow. It's going to be hanging there like a big old overripe peach, just ready for me to swing and knock out of the park. Here it comes. Not sure how much of a Godzilla fan you are. I would say on a scale of 1 to 10 Godzillas, I'm probably a 3 or a 4. I recently watched Godzilla -1. I haven't seen all the movies in the franchise, but of the ones I've seen, this is arguably the best by far. Have you seen it? I have not. If so, what are your thoughts on it? If not, I cannot recommend it enough. Before I get to the rest of the question, no, I actually do want to see Godzilla -1. I had no desire to see Godzilla versus Kong or the rest of these Godzillas. But Godzilla -1 I wanted to see because, number one, the effects that I saw looked spectacular. Number two, they did it on a shoestring, like 12 million or something like that. But most importantly, they had the genius to set it in Japan in the 60s when the original Godzilla was first done. Once I saw that they'd set it in the 60s or late 50s, even whatever it is. Once I saw that they went the retro route, I thought, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. I'm not sure if you can make a James Bond today. I mean, obviously you can, but it would be an interesting thing to do to make a James Bond set in 1962, you know? Because that's where he comes from. That's his natural habitat. Cold War, you know? James Bond is a guy with a gun in a back alley in East Berlin. That's who James Bond is. He's not an astronaut, you know, trying to stop the destruction of the Earth from orbiting space lasers, you know, on space shuttles with, you know, groovy late 70s flair painted on the wings. I don't know. I'm old school. Not to spoiler or anything, but I thought characterization was phenomenal. Follows the life of a young kamikaze pilot in the last days of World War II. See, now that, I remember vaguely hearing something about that. But that is a brilliant, that's all you have to tell me. I'm in. You had me at kamikaze pilot who survived the war. You had me there. So right there immediately, I can tell you a couple things about this, right? I can tell you that this guy is courageous, and I can tell you that this guy is living a life of turmoil and agony because of his shame of having survived the war. I have not seen the movie, but when you tell me a kamikaze pilot who survived the war, I immediately say, okay, excellent. We've got something really good here. I'm cramping up in both hands here. I'm wondering if I'm being moldified. I'm going to come out looking like the Stephen King character in whatever hell movie that was. Was that Heavy Metal? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to be, I'll just be wearing the mold suit. Coming to grips with not just the state of his country, also great idea, but also his own cowardice and sense of duty. All in all, it's a really hopeful and redemptive story. If you ever thought you had it rough, this movie will snap you out of that right quick. Also, they did a great job with the monster. Again, highly recommended to everyone. I will go and see it, and I think Natasha would like it, actually. The mycarts@gmail.com. I would also like a 3-hour talk with Bill instead of a slow motion conversation twice a week. Well, that was from Jacob Belchuk. We can increase the baud rate. Maybe we do something with call-ins or Skypes or something. Maybe we do a different person Skyping or calling in. I don't know. It's a thought. Something to think about. Hey, we got a Sad Wings Raging super chat. Tappy 3 jar, got to hit the sack. 3 hours sleep last night. Hang in there, Sad Wings. Thank you very much for the tip. And Tappy's not going anywhere, and neither am I. Thank you. And Lapco 92. Godzilla -1 was an awesome movie, hands down. Plus, the kamikaze pilot freezes when they have a chance to kill Godzilla before he mutates. Good. Even more. Lay it on him. Lay it on him. Take the hero and hurt him and hurt him and hurt him and hurt him and hurt him, because when he wins in the end, the more you hurt him and the more hurt he gets, the better it feels. So I think this sounds like great movie making. I think Natasha and I will watch this next. That's going to be top of our list. It'll be a little bit of an effort for me to talk her into turning it on, but I think it'll probably be pretty cool. It sounds really great. That is now top of my movie list. So thanks for that. Here's a question from Jacob Belchek. Not just a comment, a question. Hail Bill. Hail Jacob Belcher. I've been fascinated and uplifted by your recent trend towards deep cosmological thought. You're one of the sharpest political and historical minds I know. Somebody come in? And watching you probe these things has been excellent TV. Thanks for sharing with us. Thank you. That's exceedingly kind. I have 2 questions this week. Please take the one you think is more interesting. I think they're both more interesting. Because we got some time this week. How about that? So we'll do them both. Question 1, simulation theory, the Whittle-Sims analogy. Let me read the question and see if he gets to what the Whittle-Sims analogy is. Considering the following, creation or simulation, whichever you prefer, is an intentional act. You don't carelessly create a screenplay or a novel. You tweak and rewrite it until it fulfills the purpose you've intended for it. And each one is very special to you. Even Dawkins, when asked, said that when he thought the strongest argument for intelligent design hypothesis was the so-called fine-tuning argument. But the logical endpoint of intelligent design hypothesis also suggests that man in general, and Bill Whittle in particular, were created intelligently on purpose and with a specific purpose in mind for them to fulfill. I don't know which Bill Whittle you're speaking of, but I'm sure there must be somebody out there who was created intelligently on purpose and with a specific purpose in mind. How does your Sims analogy extend to this idea? What would you do as the writer of the simulation if one of the characters within hated the idea of his existence being subject to your will? A Sims character has neither will nor agency, but we as human beings seem to. What say you? Okay, well, this is great. So the Whittle-Sims analogy is, if there's a lot of talk and big brains out there, Elon Musk, including Elon Musk, so it must be true. It must be true. Have discussed the idea that the universe is a simulation, and they've got a big pot of evidence for why they think this might be the case. And my observation was, well, it's funny how many people have no problem believing that this is a simulation, but have a huge problem when you get to the idea that, well, if this is a simulation, who wrote the simulation? Who designed this universe that we're living in? Because somebody designed it. The simulation, the word simulation includes in it the concept that this is a created reality. It's a simulated reality. Created by whom? For what purpose? So anybody who says, well, I'm not religious, I don't believe in God or anything, but I do believe we're living in a simulation, well, then make up your mind, man. It's one or the other. Because if somebody created this universe and we are all just placed here by a much larger external intelligence that's not bound by the rules of this universe and can do whatever the hell it wants to with a couple of strokes of a cosmic computer key, then you've got a little bit of confusion to resolve. If you believe in simulation theory, then of course you believe in God, because God wrote the simulator. God wrote the software and built the hardware. But the Sims, the Whittle-Sims analogy is, if you are playing The Sims or you have a character you like and you have the option to save that character to disk, why would you not? And this is my argument for an afterlife. If we are simulations and living creatures and life is life, I mean, this is it. This is not a simulation of a life that we've already lived. Everything we've ever experienced, everything that every human has ever experienced is in this thing, if it is a simulation. So it's a cheap way to degrade the universe by saying, oh, it's just a simulation. Well, it's a freaking pretty cool 11-dimensional, multi-spectral, absolutely enormous, gravitationally dynamic freaking high resolution, 100 and, I don't know what the human frame rate is, 120 frames a second or something like that. It's a pretty impressive thing. And it scales up really well going up, and it scales up real good going down. The resolution's incredible. So my point was, if you die, I'm assuming if you die, of course. But if you die, and you are essentially a file, which is what Google thinks you are in this world. They think you're just a file, that you behave like a file. You're a ledger. I'm not saying that at all. But if everything that makes you who you are is part of a simulation, then should be possible to save you. In fact, it should be possible to move you onto another server where you live in clover and do nothing but hang out with your friends at the peak of your physical abilities. So you ask yourself, well, why would you do that? Why would God create a world like that? And then the answer would be, well, why wouldn't he? How attached have we gotten to our role-playing characters? How attached have we gotten to characters that we played? Let's just look at the Sims that we play. As above, so below. The best way to understand the fourth dimension is to look at a world of the second dimension and visualize how two-dimensional creatures can't see us because we're above them, in the same way that we can't see four-dimensional creatures because they're above us in a dimension we can't see. So if you want to play simulator, let's play simulator. And thank you for the second super chat there, Lapco. That's Bill speak for I'll never get to it. Well, sometimes you just be surprised. So how much affection do we have for computer generated characters? How many people have played Sonic or Minecraft or Lara Croft or any of these other things? How many role playing games have you ever played? How many characters have you ever rolled up and created? You get an affinity for these characters. You even get an affinity for the villains because the villains make your life interesting. So if there was a button to push that said save character, yes or no, the game is over. He's finished. He's killed in combat. He's gone. He's not coming back. Your character that you did all of these adventures with is gone. He's been killed. He rolled a 2. He needed an 18, and now he's gone. And all of his experience points are gone. You have to start from all over again. Do you want to save that character to disk, yes or no, to keep him forever? Or do you want to just let him just turn into randomness? I think I'll save that character. Click. Well, would you like this character to live in a happy land, in oblivion, in a nothingness, or in a world of eternal turmoil? I think I'll take the happy land. Click. That's how hard it is. So I've gone to a great deal of trouble to rescue birds. Last night here we were working in the studio, and a beetle from the parking garage got stuck on Natasha's hair. She said, oh my God, there's a beetle on my hair. And so I took the beetle off her hair and I cupped it in my hands, and she said, let me have it. So she took the beetle and got in the elevator, went downstairs, put the beetle out in the grass. Because that's the kind of person she is. That's generally the kind of person I am too. Although I do draw the exception to certain creatures. Mosquitoes get no mercy from me, neither do flies. But most everything else with, if I can take something that's, I used to rescue beetles, and there's a certain kind of beetle that you get in Florida, not these gigantic palmetto bug cockroaches. Damn those things! They need to be burned with flamethrowers. But there's these tiny little beetles, and sometimes you'll see them in the pool, and sometimes you'll be swimming if you had a pool, and you'll be swimming in your little pool, and the little beetle's there swimming, and he's trying to get up the edge, and you know he's not going to get up the edge, you know he's going to drown, and you just always, I'd always just put a little finger under there and help him up, get him onto the edge. Now he can walk off, be a little beetle on his own. He's not causing any problems. He's not eating any crops. He's not getting in the house. He's not contaminating the food supply. And so why wouldn't you save this? Now, Oracle of Delphi makes a really interesting and very creative point here in the YouTube stream. And I got to have an interview with my friend Jim Harding. I haven't spoken to in a long time. Oracle of Delphi says, how do you derive self-consciousness from a simulation? And the answer is you can't. Let me rephrase that. The self-consciousness cannot create itself. The self-consciousness has to be injected into it by a larger consciousness. And this is the essence of of Jim's argument. And Jim understands this in a way that I can only, I can make, vague drawings where he's laying out mathematical equations. I go, oh, look, oh, looks like dog. But he's saying that you cannot have symbols without a decoder, and that I'm going to make a bloody mess of this. I think I'll just wait till he gets here. But one thing Jim did say that I thought was clearly understandable even by me was that he said the box cannot contain anything greater than what the box came with. And I thought, okay, I'm listening. So Jim was there present at the creation of the internet, and early work on Amazon, and with some major players. So he knows his computer theory, and he also knows his biology. He also happens to be a devout Christian, and he said that here's an example. He said they were there when a new chip came out, and he was there with the guy who wrote DOS. He wrote it. I don't remember what the guy's name was, but Jim was there when this guy was working with this guy, and the guy had this idea for this operating system called DOS, and a chip had just come out which probably had 2K of memory or something like this. But this guy said, I could write DOS on this chip. So they got together and they got on the road and they drove for 2-3 hours, bought one of these very first chips off the assembly line. Then they got a motherboard, wired the motherboard themselves, hooked it up to a power supply, had some kind of fundamental hard drive, maybe it was a cassette drive or something like that, or early disk drive, and the guy wrote DOS on it. And Jim's point was, the box could do DOS, but the box didn't assemble itself, and much more importantly, if the box had been assembled, that alone is a problem, right? But let's just say that the box put itself together randomly and turned itself on randomly. Just assume that. He says the box can't create DOS. It'll run DOS, but it can't create DOS. The box cannot produce something greater than itself. And in order to have DOS, you had to have somebody who was smart enough to write DOS. And having worked a little bit with DOS, I realized that DOS is somewhat simpler than humans. And so this is basically it. This is the argument, is that the box can only contain what was put in the box, and the box can never produce anything greater than what built the box. I think that's a very poor translation of what Jim's message is, but that's essentially what he's saying. Among the many things that he's saying, it's and the most compelling aspect of I think one of the reasons why simulation theory appeals to people is it explains the biggest of the problems with materialism, just sheer mechanistic materialism. And that's not the how, it's the why. What's in the box? Slap coat for the win. And that's the why. Where does the why come from? I mean, why do we ask the question why? We look at a galaxy, let's say, all right? And let's take Richard Dawkins at his word, and this guy, Yvonne, whatever his name is, this egghead lunatic who is super excited about the fact that he's going to make the human race extinct by creating our successors. All of these human-hating humans. Let's assume that they're right, and that this whole thing is, well, in the words of Yaron or Yvonne or whatever his name is, that it's nothing but chemical algorithms. That's all consciousness is, just chemical algorithms, just chemicals doing their things, and just happen to react in such ways to create, Bach. Bach. Okay. Now stay with me on this. You want to ask why. Why? Why is the universe here? Why is the universe beautiful? Why do we see beauty in things like the Crab Nebula? Why is the Andromeda Galaxy beautiful? Why are the pillars of creation take your breath away? Why do these super high definition latest pictures from Juno of Jupiter just knock you flat? Why do you go, oh my God? The term that Jim uses frequently is wonder. Why do we experience wonder? Now, the point I'm making is not, well, we experience wonder because it's a result of evolution and blah, 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 and chemical reactions, and those humans that experience wonder had some evolutionary advantage, blah, 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 blah. But that's not really what I'm getting at. Because the materialists would say there is no why. And I understand that. And I'm ready to, for the sake of the argument, I'm ready to concede it. I'm ready to concede that there is, for the sake of the argument. Okay, for the sake of the argument, I'm willing to concede that it's possible that there is no why, that the whole thing is just an accident. But the real question is not whether or not there is a why. The real interesting point is, why do we need to think there's a why? Well, because curiosity is a survival trait, and okay, but we certainly could have discovered that the universe was ugly, right? I mean, that was a possibility, wasn't it? The universe could have been, the pillars of creation could have just been green mucus. We can envision like some nightmare, basement in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you look out into the universe and it's just nothing but phlegm and mucus and rot and decay. And we would have a reaction to that. But that's not what we get. We get wonder, and we get awe, and we get an appreciation for the complexity. Now, these are things that you can't say are evolution. Well, you can't say that, at least let me rephrase this. You can say that an appreciation of beauty and wonder could have an evolutionary advantage, and therefore the materialists get to say, yes, well, it's here because it was selected. Okay, I understand the rules of natural selection. I understand the rules of the materialist argument. I believed in it for 40, 50 years. I get it, and I'm not denying it. So it's possible to say that an appreciation for beauty had an evolutionary advantage, and that's why humans experience beauty. But that doesn't explain why the universe is beautiful. Does that make sense, that distinction? That's the part that kind of gets me. And it's not just kind of beautiful. And it's not just beautiful over there. It's beautiful everywhere. And it's very beautiful everywhere. It's jaw-droppingly beautiful. The aurora, for example. It's an interaction of electromagnetic fields with charged particles from the sun. I know what the aurora is. I'm not an idiot. But it's stunning. It's awe-inspiring. And it's not awe-inspiring because, see, this is the thing. I'm actually on an interesting point here. I can understand how, to a pre-technological, pre-scientific person, the aurora would be stunning because there'd be no explanation for it. But I know perfectly well what the explanation is. I can look at the aurora and say, I know exactly what's happening here. These are magnetic fields that are coming in the pole of the Earth, and all the charged particles are hitting the Earth. They're being channeled up into the North Pole. These magnetic fields are in a constant state of flux, and what we're seeing is incoming high energy particles interacting with the ionosphere, exciting these atoms as they strike them and causing them to fluoresce. And that's what I'm looking at. And I'm not awestruck by the aurora because I don't understand it, because it's God's, light show. I understand it perfectly, but it's still awesome. And the the eclipse, but the eclipse I saw in 2017 was, I've been waiting for this my entire life, the 2017 eclipse, and I knew exactly what I was going to get. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I knew exactly what was going to happen, how fast it was going to happen. I knew what it was going to look like. I knew all of these things. I knew exactly what was happening. I know I've been lecturing on this since I was 10 in high school, in elementary school. Been lecturing on this since I was 17 back in elementary school. Um, but when I saw it, it wasn't like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I thought. No, it was like, you know, flashing pendulum, Norman coordinate, kind of like just gone. This is the part that doesn't that I can't. This is the part that I have not heard an explanation for. I've not heard anybody explain this aspect of it, of why the universe is beautiful to us. Because you could even say, okay, well, the aurora are beautiful, and ancient man and our proto-human ancestors thought it was beautiful. Maybe they do. In fact, I'm sure they probably do. I'm sure that monkeys look at the aurora. Well, monkeys probably don't look at the aurora that often because there's not that many monkeys in extremely northern climates, but in any event, you get the idea. I don't know if a monkey thinks a sunset is beautiful. I'll bet he doesn't. In fact, I know he doesn't. That's the difference between us and monkeys. I don't think a monkey thinks a sunset is beautiful, but we do. So what's that say? If it provides an evolutionary benefit to think a sunset is beautiful, then why doesn't a monkey think it's beautiful? Why don't dogs and cats just sit there at the window and stare at the sunset more than they stare at other things? Because I've seen cats stare out a window a long time. Macaques, yes, macaques are. I don't know what to think about macaques. Macaques remind me of Nosferatu. Joe Biden shares 60% of his DNA with a banana. That's more than the average person does. It's another win for Biden. But at what point does beauty become an evolutionary advantage? When does that switch get thrown? If the materialist view is correct and that everything, and it may be correct, if the materialist view is correct and that everything that we have, every asset that we have, everything that's in the human toolbox is here because it provided an evolutionary advantage, and this makes sense within the confines of the theory. It makes perfect sense. If everything we experience because at some point or another provided evolutionary selective advantage to our ancestors, then at what point does beauty get turned on in the mix? When does that become evolutionarily advantageous? Now you could say, do animals experience some kind of beauty? Well, there's no question that animals experience visual attraction. All of these mating routines and and peacock's feathers and the birds that make the giant nests and and all of this display and frickin' lizards doing that thing. All of this stuff is designed to get people's attention, and the other lizards think that the guy with the biggest thing down here, he's the prettiest prettiest lizard of them all, I guess. But you see what I'm saying? It doesn't. It's hard to imagine. You really just want to come to a gut level reaction and say, what's the point of all this if there's no point of all this? I think that's really it. I think it comes a point when you just have to say, what's the point if there's no point? I know that sounds infantile, but I can't think of a better way to put it. There's no point to any of this. It just is. It's just an accident. Okay. Feel better now? The most you can take the materialist argument into cosmology. The materialists who believe there's no such thing as supernatural, you can still drag them into the supernatural by saying something along the lines of this. your appreciation of the universe as beautiful, if there's no, let's say there's no God, there's no creation, there's no creator, it's all completely random, then you, as Carl Sagan said, you are the universe's way of looking at itself. Okay, but you are now transcending materialism, because consciousness is not something that has ever been able to be located or defined. No one's ever told you where consciousness is. We can't even define it, let alone explain it. We're trying to create it. I just don't think that it's a question of neurons. And this one thing I mentioned that was on Mr. Petrov's channel about consciousness existing inside collapsing quantum probability wavefronts inside of individual cells. Okay, there's a lot out there. Anyway, that's we'll walk around the cosmological park for the evening on Monday, just something to keep ourselves amused by until the cocaine arrives. So that we could shut all this off. Question 2, Dawkins in cultural Christianity. All right, here we go. Relatively recently, Dawkins has admitted to being a cultural Christian, brought on largely, I think, by the proliferation of radical Islam and modern gender identity politics insanity. He seems to have come to the conclusion that if mankind must believe in ridiculous fairy tales, then Christianity appears to be the least harmful option available. I would agree with that analysis. This suggests the idea of the noble lie that we must all at least pretend to believe for the good of civilization. As a man with a strong commitment to truth, how does this strike you? It seems to me that there's no virtue in believing untrue things and that they will not hold up well to iterated testing across time, yet the Christian ethic seems to have done remarkably well in promoting human flourishing, including the only cultural source in the history of the planet to produce science, which is what's allowed you to create a book like The Selfish Gene in the first place, Mr. Dawkins. Dawkins now appears to be flinching in response to the sexually ambiguous monster that his atheistic materialism has spawned, and he's trying to flee back to the comforting arms of the worldview he spent his entire career attempting to delegitimize. For my part, I'm not a cultural materialist because I don't think it's true. I'm not a cultural Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, flying spaghettiist, or anything else. I'm a cultural Christian because I think the whole of Christianity's claims are true. I don't have to split the difference in my mind of living my life according to something that my intellect insists is false, but just happens to have good results. What say you? I agree with you on this. And everybody agrees with me, and I agree with everybody, and that means that the universe has finally become complete, and we need no longer to have any discussion about anything. So the show's over. Thanks very much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next Big Bang cycle. Yes, if he's claiming that it's a lie, and we know it's a lie, but it's the most beneficial lie there is, so I'm going to go believe it, that's not really helpful. Probably the best way I could help Mr. Hawkins deal with this is just to say, hey, this software is what produces the best human experience. This is what produces the best results here on planet Earth. I'm going to well, Dawkins says, Jeff Coulter says that Dawkins says, quote, I like Christendom, but not the Christ who initiated it. Really? I would have rather the opposite view of that. I don't know if he knows who Christ is. Now, he can think that Christ is a completely fictitious character. He can think Christ is as fictitious as Superman if he wants to. But to say that he likes Christendom, but not the Christ who invented it, what about Christ is it that bothers you so much, Mr. Dawkins? Is it his unrelenting cruelty? Is it his endless ego? Is it his lofty elitism and refusal to mix with the masses? I mean, what the devil are you talking about, you lunatic? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. You can make a plenty good argument, and this is Mark Twain's entire body of work, is saying my problem is not with Christ. My problem is with Christians. That's my problem. He's that argument makes some sense, but this is now you're starting to get down to Neil deGrasse Tyson level of trying to sound smart and clever and above it all. That's the thing too. So if I'm going to say something witty and clever. It's very much this. God created man, and man, being a gentleman, returned the favor. Oh, no, it was just a bon mot, just something I just tossed off. No, F you. Really, seriously, that's it. That's life to you. It's just a clever cocktail party line. You just have somebody, yeah. I will never forget this as long as I live. I had said a show or two ago that 90% of his cachet is the DeGrasse. If his name had just been Nick Tyson, nobody would have given him the time of day. But Neil deGrasse Tyson has it's got that kind of Tycho Brahe, Leonardo da Vinci, Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's got that kind of gilded observatory with extremely precisely measured little radians, on the roof and fine clockwork orreries and all of that. Neil deGrasse Tyson, but if his name was Mo deGrasse Tyson, would lose a lot of his feel. Mo, get out there and Mo deGrasse Tyson. Oh my Lord in heaven, that's funny. But when you say things like, I don't mind Christendom, it's Christ I have a problem with. Really? Well, here's what's amazing about the world, Mr. Dawson. Despite your unpleasantness, Christ apparently does not have a problem with you, which is proof that he's a supernatural being, because every other person in the world who would hear something like that would find you loathsome and repulsive, rather. But apparently, he loves you. I don't know how he came to that conclusion, and I don't know how he does it, but nevertheless, there it is. That's the greatest evidence of the supernatural nature of Christ is the belief, not just the belief. This is the core tenet of the entire religion. This is the entire religion in a nutshell. Christ loves you. That's it. That's it. Everything else about Christianity falls from that, and you can the proof that Christ has to be supernatural is the fact that he can love somebody like you, or me for that matter. I mean, let's be serious here. Yeah, it's one of those things that just sounds, oh, ho 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 ho. I'm sure when he said it, I'm sure the entire room went a titter. I'm sure a titter just rippled through the audience before they went back home to their, Bill Burr has this thing, until all the women went back home to their effeminate boyfriends who were cooking something in sweatpants and walking around eating a pretentious fruit like a pear. The government says it's good that Jesus loves everyone, that way I don't have to. I think that's actually the appeal of Christianity. I think that's largely it. Somebody's gonna love this taser face. Okay, so I don't have. I'm off. I'm relieved. Sold. So, yeah. Here's the thing about Christianity, and I think this is what Dawkins is coming to realize. Whether you believe in Christ's divinity or not, a society that is predicated on that belief is the only society in the history of the world that's ever produced science and the idea of individual rights and the idea of private property and the idea of being in control of your own destiny and the idea of a direct appeal to God and the idea that you are not the victim of mindless fate or the whims of the river gods or whatever. All of this has come from one place, and And if you're a scientist, then you cannot ignore that data. So, there you go. Wouldn't it be ironic if the greatest of ironies, if I were to go on to become like some enormously influential apologist for Christianity and turn into a C.W. Lewis after all of the... I don't think I've ever done anything genuinely awful. Well, I've done some awful things, but I don't think I've ever done anything genuinely awful on purpose. Okay, let's see. Eric Blake, and then that's it. My God, it's full of stars. Okay, Eric. Hello, Eric. The man with the hat is there, and he's ready to go. He's a 4-star, 95 posting super stud who wears a fedora and a pin and a red tie and looks like he means business and is not a man to be trifled with under any circumstances. So he's singing. He's singing the Mickey Mouse Club theme for the Stratosphere Lounge, which I'm not going to reproduce here because of my dignity. Hey, Bill. Yes, I'm singing. I'm in a singing sort of mood tonight, and my mouth is not working tonight well either. When I was over there at the at PragerU, I was reading the script, and I was having problems with it, just getting words out of my mouth, which is weird, hard to say. Anyway, I'm in a singing sort of mood tonight, and in large part, it's due to your final point you closed with on Thursday night, and I quote, "Don't forget the story of Glacier Girl. Restoration, restoration, restoration. There's nothing that they can destroy that cannot be rebuilt back better than it was before," unquote. Very pleased to hear you say that, Bill, as it is the exact point I've made countless times on this stream. Now, I'm especially happy with that because we see more vindication of this as time goes on. Elon taking Twitter, of course. If this ends up being about Disney, I'm going to puke. But this week, Vivek Ramaswamy has announced his intention to buy up BuzzFeed and to work to rebuild it better. All right. I didn't know he had that kind of money. And yes, Bill, you do know where this is going. Like Miracle Max would say, there's a big difference between mostly dead, and mostly dead means slightly alive. So politically or culturally, as you so brilliantly put, there's nothing they can destroy that cannot be rebuilt back better than it was before. So let us wish upon a star, of course, and live long and prosper. I'm happy about rebuilding Star Trek. I'd be fine about rebuilding Star Trek. I think I could rebuild Star Trek. In fact, I know I could rebuild Star Trek. I'd go right back to the exploring strange new worlds and not knowing what's on the next planet. And back to the confidence, and I would not let the hair become the main character of the story. But if you're saying you could rebuild Disney, I imagine you could, but there comes a point where it's not a question of can you rebuild Disney. It's not even a question of do you want to rebuild Disney, but it's more of a question of this entity has offended me so greatly now that I am now at the point where I don't wish it to be recreated. I wish it to go away. It's so very, very boring. I've come to loathe the name, Eric. I've come to loathe it. Everything that's been done in its name, I'm sorry, I've just come to loathe it. The swastika predates Nazi Germany by a few thousand years and was universally considered a sign of good luck. Well, it wasn't such good luck after maybe 24, I guess, when Hitler put the flag together somewhere in there. So, I'm not trying to say that Disney is Hitler, but I'm not saying that it ain't either. No, it's just, it comes a point where just enough people have used the name Disney to smack me in the face and insult me and not insult me, because I've been insulted by many things. The reason I come to despise Disney is that Disney has destroyed things that I love, and so has Paramount. And thank you very much for correcting me on that, Eric. I owe you for that, because I I don't keep track of these things anymore. I thought Disney owned everything. But Disney and Paramount and all the rest, you guys, woo, hooray, woo. It's a bendy straw, see? This is what boomers invented. Or at least the people that sold things to boomers invented them. It's a bendy straw. Damn simple mechanism as well. Genius. Absolutely genius. Slight bit of resistance built into it by the folding of the material, which has to be just exactly the right texture, because if that plastic is too weak, it's just going to fall over. But if it's too strong, you can't bend it into that shape. It's actually astonishing. You can get a little kind of a helix action out of that if you really put your mind to it. Yeah, this is what we used to do before we had computers. I know what this is. This is clearly the plasma injection circuit for the two warp nacelles on the Enterprise. Because ultimately you've got to get stuff from the main antimatter core, which is down there someplace, and then you really, I think at this point you gotta figure that if you had the schematic of the Enterprise, it should probably look more or less like that in terms of the antimatter flow, where the actual magic is happening. I think she'd probably look more or less like that, pretty much like that. See? And thus imaginations are built, and in similar fashion are they strengthened. Well, hot diggity doggity dog, I feel guilty, a little bit guilty, not guilty enough to not quit, but I'm going to quit anyway. But I still feel a little guilty about it, because I don't even think we've done an hour yet. Have we done an hour? We must have done an hour, certainly. Yes, an hour and 21. 121, that's a feature-length film. You miserable bastards grinding me into the dust for your own amusement. I would. If it were my option, I would definitely do it. I think it'd be fun to watch me crash and burn. But nope, I refuse to give you that satisfaction. Not today, anyway. The day may come when all of Bill will come crashing down, but it is not this day. I actually am feeling like, can I really get out of here at 7:30? And I reckon I can. So I'm gonna do it. I've already shown you how to build warp drives. Damn you! I don't owe you my guitar. The show is made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com, who continue to do the things that they do here, and for which we are eternally grateful. And by that I mean eternally grateful, at least as long as eternity lasts, or until the lease expires, whichever comes first. Thanks very much for joining us. Sorry if it's a bit of a short show. We'll have a longer show on Thursday. Why don't we? I've got to go talk to my imaginary play friends here and start acting them out, and I'm going to make them kiss this time, because I've always wanted to do that. I've been so lonely. All right, so thanks everybody for joining us. It was a fun little show. We'll see you Thursday for the very, very serious business about the destruction of the world, and then we'll be back on the following Monday. I'm going to Oshkosh, by gosh, I think, almost positive. And then who knows? Maybe I'll start flying again. You never know. Stranger things have happened. Oh, I'm going to buy a bicycle. I've decided that's the best way to get rid of these extra 20 pounds. I did it when I came back from Australia with $40 in my pocket, and rode a bike to work for 9 months till I could afford a used car, and I started off in poor shape and ended up in great shape. So that was fun. Bill, you're the straw that stirs the drink. Caledon Society, that's a damn nice thing to say to somebody. By God, for that you get the coveted award. Okay, well, we will see you soon. I'm a little punchy tonight for some reason. I don't know why, but I am. So anyway, it's the mold. I can feel it. It's taking over. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you YouTube. We're checking out on YouTube now, so we'll see you YouTube. Have yourself a final week, and we'll see you Thursday.